paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, that's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. I'll apologize in advance. There is no Gavin Verhey this week. You should go check out last week's episode if you want to hear from him. And I understand that you do. We all do. He's great to chat with. However, I'm Corbin. Welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. I am joined, as always, by my co-hosts, Jason and DJ. DJ, how's it going tonight?
It's going great. Parkour, RuneScape, and magic cards are basically my life. Just work, parkour, and RuneScape for the past 10 months.
Parkour is work. We will parkour again in the future, DJ and I, like we did in Indy. Or at least I did. I don't remember if DJ was even willing.
Are you talking about the time you tried to jump over a railing?
Yeah.
He tried to clamber over a railing. That is the...
I'm sorry, Corbin, you're gonna what?
Easy game, easy life.
Hold on, wait, no, I don't think you did it first. Just get it first. Go again.
Parkour!
Don't do it!
There goes the shoe!
He's dead, you can tell his shoe flew off.
Sorry. I get in the sewer.
Parkour.
Shut up. Shut up. Wasn't parkour, it was free running. Shut up.
I hardcore
No,
parkoured.
God damn it. Shut up.
Corbin, would you like to know the difference between parkour and free running? Because Jason doesn't seem to want to.
No.
Okay.
Would you like to know the difference between clambering and shutting up? Shut up.
I was just saying clambering to show that Corbin did not have as much athleticism as he seemed to imply. But
So
which I thought you'd...
Is clambering the name for a botch, or is that...
No, it's literally just a
Jason
word. It's literally just a word in the English language to like scramble over something or like half-ass your way to like a cop like you struggle.
Yeah, I don't know
to...
why I got that hostile with DJ, but he just shrugged it off, which made me, I don't know. I was like, I'm overreacting now, and DJ's fine with it. Do I always overreact? Is this my like? Do I think I'm overreacting? But they're like, that's just baseline Jason right now. Told me to shut up 9 times. He's mad when he says it a 10th.
Basically, I'm a hardcore parkourer, and we will have an opportunity in the future. But on the show tonight, we have a lot to talk about. Kaldheim, a possible TCGPlayer competitor. And it turns out that Magic cards are collectible, and a Black Lotus may or may not be worth $1 million.
Well, with all the troll bids gone, it's down much lower now. So
It is. So for those who don't know, there was a PSA 10 graded Alpha Black Lotus with the case it was in, signed by Christopher Rush.
So, like, if you crack the case, you're destroying
Yes.
a one-of-a-kind Christopher Rush.
No, that just means that you're getting 2 different items now. Now you have a case signed by Christopher Rush, and you have a Black Lotus to sell.
Yeah. Well, it's honestly insane that this item exists, and I think a lot of people looked at it and said that's $1 million card. And for a hot minute it was, but it turns out on eBay you can make troll bids. So I think the thing went to 700,000 to 400,000 to $1 million to 300,000. But
that's
in the end,
what they wanted, which is why they didn't
Yeah.
do this at a reputable auction house or like in a private sale. They wanted this to be on eBay, and they wanted this to make headlines. And
well, and I don't know.
we're happy
It
with
is
that.
done by
I like,
an auction house.
I like all
but-
the controversy, right? Like it's making a lot of headlines.
Well, yeah, and it's being run by an auction house on eBay.
Yeah.
And I found out, for people thinking eBay's getting a 15% cut of this, eBay actually caps their fees at like $750 or something silly, but it's not quite, you're not losing quite as much as you might
eBay's
think.
not getting $150,000 is what you're saying. That's good.
Right.
There's the credit card fee / like PayPal fee though.
There you go.
Like that's gonna be flat.
Yeah, so it is it's certainly generating some attention, and I'm guessing that these people knew what they had. I mean, PSA 10 Alpha signed by Chris Rush. This is somebody who's ready to retire. Ready to retire. That's what this is. Yeah.
Whew.
That's crazy. That'll be at this rate. That'll be us someday if you have any dual land with the way things are going these days. All right. So before we get into Kaldheim, let's do everyone's favorite segment, Breaking Bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
Aether Revolt rare artifact.
Aether Sphere Harvester.
Is that card worth anything?
I don't know. We're playing Breaking Bulk.
Okay, no.
Is it some sort of vehicle?
No. It looks like a vehicle.
You look like a vehicle, so
Got him.
take that. You look like a vehicle that clambers.
Aether Revolt, huh? Is it one of the? I'm thinking of the cycle.
Isn't there a cycle of things that
adds energy and each color does something, and then when you sack them, is it any of that cycle?
Those are commons from Kaladesh?
Maybe.
Not that cycle.
I don't know. This is I mean, you hit us with artifact from an artifact set.
I said rare artifact from Aether Revolt that looks like a vehicle. That is niche.
But isn't a vehicle?
Correct.
Stop picking rares.
There's fewer rares in the card pool than there are uncommons.
Yeah,
I don't know
which is why it's embarrassing that I don't know.
I don't know the answer.
No idea.
Scrap Trawler.
Scrap Trawler?
Why would anyone think that's rare? Why would anyone think that that's bulk, rather?
Because I've found these in my GP box of, and that was when it was a modern card.
I have so many foils of this just waiting for it to do something. Scrap Trawler's an unfair card. Something will happen eventually.
It already did. But this card broke modern.
And it was printed to it was printed billions of times and was basically worthless. Am I wrong?
I don't bulk out Scrap Trawler. That's actually good advice. It was bad for the purposes of this game because I never would have guessed in a million years Scrap Trawler was a... But, for the purposes of advising our listeners, don't bulk out Scrap Trawler. Eventually, that's going to be a $5 card.
It's true. It is worth a couple dollars already.
Right, but, even if it wasn't, good... I'm arguing that it is good for the purposes of the game or whatever, but, if you read this card and you didn't know, how much it was printed and you knew its competitive tenure, you'd be like, oh, $5 card. And I think a lot of people did that. They're like, oh, Scrap Trawler is great. It's going to be worth a bunch of monies, and it's going to be awesome. And then it was not. And so people put it in the chaff, and people just...
It did take a year or so to go away from bulk to be worth a little bit of money.
And it used to be a 70-cent card. It used to be true bulk. And there's a lot of cards like this where it has competitive viability, whether it's in Commander or otherwise, and people look at it and say, this is $1 million card because it's super, super good, and then it is either A, overprinted, or B, underperforms, regardless of the power level of the card, and then it just sits in the chaff, and you can look at it and say, yes, this is obviously powerful, yes, this shouldn't be bulk, but still people will treat it as bulk because they see a card, then they see a number next to it that says TCGX, and then they put it where the number tells them to.
Sounds about right. Okay, you got us. You complete.
All right, I've got one that might do well here.
Okay.
I have an Ixalan red uncommon.
Is it the one that it's like a 4-mana enchantment that makes a treasure every turn and they have to attack?
That says the
Trove of Temptation. No, it is not Trove of Temptation.
Okay.
Good guess, though.
Is it the discard a card, draw 2?
No.
It's like
is it a creature or an enchantment?
I don't know why I just don't know the names of Ixalan cards, but I'm glad.
Well, it isn't that. It isn't. I'm trying to remember what you're thinking of, but it's not.
There's I swear, there's it's like a Tormented Voice-esque, Cathartic Reunion-esque card that is like an uncommon in Ixalan, I think.
Probably. They have several versions of that. They print them pretty regularly. I don't really remember. But it is not that, no. It is a creature.
It's the
Is it the
dinosaurs you
goblin?
control cost one less.
It is not the goblin.
It's dinosaurs you control cost one less.
It
and
is
gives dinosaurs
goblins, yeah.
haste.
Odipek Huntmaster, for those who don't know. It's a 1/2 for 2. Dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 less. Tap, target dinosaur gains haste until end of turn. This is actually insanely powerful for a dinosaur deck, and the card is $1. So this is a really nice one. This fits, we talked about whatever the angel reducing cost card is in Kaldheim. This is that kind of card, and that's why this card is one of the most expensive uncommons out of the set.
Yep. Big dumb tribe, and then you have an uncommon that says my tribe costs 1 less, and I
Plus
get to
the
slam
haste, like that card is very good.
I get to slam Big Timmy things earlier.
Well, that was a nice tangent. If you'd like to hear what we talked about, you can head to patreon.com/BSB and give us $20 a month, which is $4 or $5 an episode. That'll give you access to the after hours where we give you the stuff that is too caliente for the podcast.
I will give you a teaser, though.
Spice.
I'll give you a teaser. I wanted to follow up on what we were talking about. And these two last published in 2019, one of the most recent ones. It's called Captivated by Centaurs. So we'll just leave that as a little teaser there for everybody. Jason, what's your breaking bulk, buddy?
My breaking bulk has 6 printings, the first of which was in the set Onslaught. This is a black common from
A million printings from Onslaught
and Plane Chase and Commander 2017 and Commander 2014 and Commander and both anthologies. And there was a WPN foil.
Siphon Mind?
Yeah.
I love that card.
Don't
You
feel
got that
bad.
a
You
little.
gave me a lot of information there.
Yeah, you got that a little fast though. Well, I at least wanted you to make a noise. You didn't make a single noise. You're just like, oh yeah, that. You didn't say.
I was thinking
once.
an noise.
You gotta humor him, DJ. You gotta make it feel good.
Ooh, make it seem hard. Make it seem hard. Yours was hard. Siphon Mind is like $1 for some printings. There are lots of printings. The WPN foil, just about like the same price as the other ones. It would have been foil in Onslaught. That's probably an expensive foil. What's a Onslaught foil go for? Like $3. Jeez, not much. So like, this is a good card, and it's only going to get gooder as a result of a card that is ruining magic called Turgrid, God of Fright, which is my pick of the week, is based on Turgrid also.
If it makes you feel any better, Jason, I will say that if you didn't say WPN promo, it would have taken me a lot longer to get it.
Well, I wanted to wrap things up because you haven't been listening to the podcast for long, but we've been sitting down to record for like 3 hours at this point, so... Lots of after hours. If you're into the after hours, you know where to go. Patreon.com/BSB. If you're not into after hours, we'll stop mentioning them. I don't want to make you feel bad for the fact that you just don't support us as a podcast. I get it.
If you're not into the after hours, you can get after hours live at twitch.tv/Brainstorm Brewery.
It's true.
You can get
all of that.
the banter. You can get the rants and the bants at twitch.tv/Brainstorm
Wow.
Brewery.
I didn't care
Yep.
for that.
Yeah, that was a try.
Is that
Let's talk.
some Gen Z thing? Did they say rants and bants?
DJ is in the weird in between generation.
I'm a millennial.
He's like the worst into millennials.
Good.
94.
You and
If
Pete
you're-
Buttigieg, man.
If you're
on
not a
opposite ends
millennial
of the
right now, you
spectrum.
can click like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're not listening on YouTube, go to YouTube, like and subscribe.
Yeah. All right.
That
let's
helps
talk.
us. We want to beat the algorithm. We want to be a suggested video topic. When people are like, hey, what is alternate 4th edition? I would like our video to pop up on Google. So get us noticed with your likes. I'm sick of getting people tell us, hey, your podcast is really good. And I say, thank you. And they're like, you should have more YouTube subscribers. And I go, I agree.
that does happen.
But only 5% of our people watching the YouTube are subscribed. So
That's not true. It's like 80%.
Shut up! I'm trying to shame these people.
Shame the 20%.
You 20%. So if you are in the 20%, let's make it a 19% tonight. Let's get that down. But hey, if you have nothing to do with YouTube, thanks anyway. Thanks for just listening to this podcast. We've been doing it for 11 years, I think, at this point. And,
yeah, basically.
It's 8 years going on
2020
9,
time.
And, yeah, it's been a ride. I can't believe they let us do this, but I can't believe some other things, such as our next topic. But I want to segue us, but I don't know what the topic is, so I'm just like,
well, I've been trying for.
I'm going to graciously hand it off to someone who's an adult.
Well, the big news coming out right now is that Channel Fireball and a company called Binder POS are going to be merging. Not just working together, not just partnering, but actually merging. There's an article, we're looking at this on a website called ICV2, is presenting it in a sort of a news way. There's a quote from the CEO of both groups, of Channel Fireball CEO John Sasso, of Binder POS CEO Joshua Grant, and they're combining, and they will be offering Pokemon Magic the Gathering and a card game called Flesh and Blood.
Flesh and Blood.
Don't know anything about it, but I do know that this is not... What this means is that they are trying to compete with TCGPlayer. I mean, that's what this is. This is a move to open up the marketplace to more than just eBay and TCG. And I believe that this new one will only allow retailers on it, not individual sellers. So it seems like maybe they're hoping, banking on the fact that, I mean, look, it's good and bad, right? Because if you can raise the average user experience because you have proven stores for handling all of your transactions, especially in the age of COVID and the post office and everything, people are having so many complaints with the process on TCG that maybe there's a window there if you can provide a better experience by only having proven strong sellers on your platform. At least that seems to be what they're banking on. So it's going to be fascinating to see play out.
Yeah, I mean, TCG also used to have this system, and then they abandoned it in favor of just letting anybody with a phone number and a bank account on. And a lot of people don't realize that because that was like 2012 or 2013 that they opened the floodgates to people. But
that long ago? Wow.
We are a podcast that thrives on chaos, so I feel like people battling it out in the marketplace really only benefits the end user, right?
This is great for all of us, I think, right? You're going to have... it's interesting because if you think about what you need to compete in any market, if you are going into a market where one of the most important factors for success is reaching a critical mass of users, and basically Puka trade, right? In Magic, you have to have those users to get there. So you need... Puka trade obviously showed us the downside. This is not to make that comparison, but it's an example of a platform that only works if a lot of people are on it, and that's going to be the deal with this website. In order to attract a bunch of high-quality retailers with good stock who put all their time in putting stuff into your system, you have to have the customers there. And of course, the customers will only be there if you have the retailers and the prices. So you need a big push of publicity to make it work. Channel Fireball brings that to the table with their, large content offerings and LSVs associated with the brand and all of that. And it seems like there's, the technology on the other side. This seems like a credible attempt. I'm not going to say dethrone TCGPlayer, but, not only is the competition healthy for the end user, it's probably kind of needed as TCGPlayer has sort of matured and sort of grown more and more into the I'm not going to say a monopoly, but the very clear market leader.
It's also competition for Crystal Commerce too, which is the primary sync system POS that most most stores have to use. I was going to say like most small stores, but it's really just most stores have to use Crystal Commerce. If you plan to multi-list on channels like Amazon, eBay, TCG, etc., like you've up until this point, you have primarily used Crystal Commerce and TCG. What's it? TCG Pro / TCG Direct, and all of these have been attempts to siphon users off of, and TCG wanted to rise up and be the competition for Crystal Commerce. So
Crystal Commerce causes a lot of the issues, right? In terms of people, and I don't know how much of an issue it is these days, but I know for a fact in the past that it would not pull your inventory down across multiple websites. So if there was a run on a card after a banning or something, it would sell you'd have 3 versions listed across 3 websites, and you'd sell 9 copies because it wouldn't pull them down. So I know that's been a common complaint about Crystal Commerce in the past, and that's why everyone kind of wants into that market, right? There are certainly complaints and ways that it can be improved on, and TCGPlayer, I would argue, did some of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a little bit of an awkward situation here arguing for this because I am.
It's 2 companies that used to pay DJ.
Well. Not even in that aspect. I just mean the fact that I am in a situation where I likely would not make the cut if I were to apply to be a seller on this new CFB system. And I do make the cut on TCGPlayer. I'm in this weird purgatory ghost situation where I'm not a full giant LGS that would have the ability to do that, but I do have the ability to sell on TCG and have a large enough operation that I am sort of like in the upper percentile of TCG sellers. So like, I can advocate. I want to advocate for TCG to up its standards and up its quality control, because there are a lot of low percentile sellers that drag down the name of the platform. People just getting cards late or getting cards not shipped at all, stores refunding incorrectly, just like all these. There's just so many players that don't listen to information sources like us and other information sources about like just how to sell and how to process and how to list and all that. That just drag down the name of the industry as a whole. And so
also,
like,
people are mad at TCGPlayer for US Post Office stuff, and like that's
there's a little ridiculous.
Well, there's some of that, yeah, but I mean, there's also just like bad actors on TCGPlayer. And it's very, very easy to get around to like any sort of recompense or like any sort of like punishment by TCGPlayer. If you have a phone number and a bank account, you can just make a new.
Well, what's going to be interesting with this new site then is because, I talked about it earlier about how important it is for them to have a big launch. It seems to me that, and obviously we don't know, but if I'm, sort of gaming out what a successful launch here would look like, people like you could have a place in that, right? If you can show that I've done X thousands of sales on TCGPlayer with this rating, maybe that maybe they need, because we don't know what they're coming in with, right? But they at some level kind of need all the help they can get, right? They're the ones trying to take down the market leader. And these are the kind of questions, I guess, that if I were involved, that I would be asking. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes, what it looks like. But it has the potential to be huge. I mean, if these 2 platforms were to both, if this platform were to do well and you get bidding wars over percentages and perks to sellers and buyers, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot there.
This kind of thing is what led in the movie Demolition Man to every restaurant being Taco Bell. So, if you like Taco Bell, this is good for you. If you don't like Taco Bell, this is potentially pretty disastrous. You're going to end up living underground and eating rat burgers.
Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. It does look like in February they will be, if you are a retail business out there looking for it, they are taking pitches in February applications, so to speak, and they're going to be doing an actual investing round, it looks like, according to this article. So this is it seems like a big market move. It's going to be good, hopefully, for the consumers at the end of the day. So, all right, let's move on a little bit.
Would have been a good move to have some podcasts who could spread the word about your new thing. But...
that thought crossed my mind. Perhaps one that maybe spoke to the
We're
audience
such good
that they
people.
might
We could be.
uh,
We're not even acting jilted. We're such professionals. We don't care about us. We don't care about our feelings. We care about you, the consumer, the listener of this podcast, the watcher of this YouTube video. We want you to be abreast of MTG Finance news, both the comings and the goings. So we gave you the information because we're basically saints. We're the best people ever.
All right. Well, let's touch a little bit on Kaldheim. Now, we're going to get the full set review next week, of course, but there was some cool stuff that we've seen since we talked last week. The Phyrexians are real. We got all the snow cards. We got all the sagas.
Would you like me to
Jason,
talk about relative popularity real
quick? I would love to know what's standing out.
Number one with a bullet, and it could be because it was spoiled early, and we've had the longest time to scrape. Magda, Brazen Outlaw.
Yeah.
Making treasure tokens, sacking treasure tokens,
yeah, it's a good one.
Dragons and stuff like that. It's going to be a good time. Toski is number 2, the squirrel. I think you basically make a green Azuri deck with this. So you could go Squirrel Tribal if you want, but I kind of think Magda and Toski have been spoiled the longest. So, like, of course, they're in the top. So I think the ones that are overperforming in the top 5, Sir Rolf Realm Eater has also been spoiled for a while. So those 3 are in the top 5, I think, because we've had the longest time for people to build. The 2 that are overperforming, I think, are Iska God Tree / the Prismatic Bridge, the 5-color prismatic thing where you get a planeswalker or creature. Cool. That's the number 3 deck right now. And number 5 is Turgrid, God of Fright, which is just a garbage card. Just a griefer card. And I based my Breaking Bulk and Pick of the Week on Turgrid just because it's just...
I just read Turgrid for the first time.
Yeah.
I just did a little double take.
Yeah, exactly. You did a double take.
And I didn't even see the back half of it.
Yep. Well, screw the back half. The front half is like you just take your Nico Bolas deck and take all the red and blue cards out, and now you have all their cards. Yeah. Well, so go to infinitokens.com because you're going to goddamn need them. Every time you cast a Dark Deal, you get 4 new permanents. You did it. So
wow, that card's good.
Turgrid's stupid, and it's going to be another Tiny Bone. So like I based my my Siphon Mind pick and my pick of the week later on Turgrid. So Turgrid's in the top 5, and it's only been spoiled for like a week maybe, so it's way overperforming.
Wow, this card is crazy.
So the rest of the top 10 is Vorinclex, Valky, Cole, the Forge Master, Toralf, and then Kona, the Cosmos Serpent, which is just garbage. I don't know why that's in the top 10. What I do know is that the ship has sailed on Magda stuff, both. Well, treasure, dragons, and dwarf stuff is all kind of going. Toski, I would look at non-squirrel flying man stuff. You know, kind of the like the unblockable stuff, like your auras, like Bear Umbra is probably in play, stuff like that. Equipment. Essica, it's just there's going to be a 5-color legend in every set now. So Rolf, don't like it, but I kind of think. You look at the DJ. What's that card that you compared it to? The one black, one green, one guy. Skullbriar. Look at the Skullbriar page on EDH Rec for ideas on how to build Sir Rolf. And Turgrid, just look at Tiny Bones. So there's already precedent for all this stuff. I wrote an article this week on MTG Price that if this is Thursday, it's free to read now about all the Turgrid stuff that overlaps with Tiny Bones that I think is in play. I wanted to talk briefly about the fact that like Bottomless Pit with 1 printing ever, Uncommon and Stronghold went from 35 cents to $15 to $1.50, but all the other stuff didn't retrace like that, like Necrogen Mists and Oppression and all the just go to the Tiny Bones page. All that stuff kind of just stayed up. So anything that went from like $5 to $10 on the back of Tiny Bones is not going down. Those are $15 cards now, and if they go back to 12, you got in at 10 and got out at 15. So congrats. So
well, I want to talk about on the subject of Tiny Bones. I'm going to be honest. Despite what happened in 2020 as far as Magic design goes, I really like what I see in this set so far, and I love how they're pushing the design of the set in ways that feel natural, but also kind of new and fun, right? The red counterspell feels red, but it's also a red counterspell, right? And here's the one on the subject of Tiny Bones that I love, Skull Raid.
Yeah,
the 4-mana sorcery, target opponent discards 2 cards. It has Foretell for 2. But here's the big thing. If fewer than 2 cards were discarded this way, you draw cards equal to the difference. So, I mean, think about it. We've seen red pick up, some new mechanics with light up the stage type stuff. Now we see a red counterspell, right? We've seen some of the stuff they're giving white. And this Skull Raid is crazy. Siphon Mind we talked about earlier. I love that card in Bolus because of how good it is, right? It's card advantage and, it's discard all in one. It just does it all. This design where if the turning a Mind Rot into a divination when your opponent is hellbent, that is a nice design touch that feels pretty black. And Magic has been around for 28 years, and there are multiple new design things in this set that I am impressed by.
The runes are very well done.
Oh yeah, the runes they're cartouches, but they're cool. I like them.
Yeah.
I don't set
sagas are always
stuff
great.
like that. Like I would love, but I mean, some of the cartouches kind of show up in EDH a little bit. But the rune design is cool at least, and I think you can push it a little harder if it doesn't play well with stuff historically. Then you don't have to worry about balancing its power as much if there's not going to be like runes every couple of years. So you're like, oh shit, what was that rune we printed in 2020? Will this be really ridiculous with that? You don't have to worry about any of that. So I kind of like when they can push the power knowing some of the stuff is temporary or at least contained.
Yeah, this set is, and Snow and Phyrexians are obviously coming down the pipe. Like, feeling pretty good about Magic right now, I'm not going to lie.
I just hate Turgrid. And I hate Turgrid because everyone thought I would like it.
The Turgrid is
you get to play with their cards. That's real 75%. And I'm like,
I like the concept behind this card. I don't like so I've talked about this a lot, and we've gone way over already, but there's a difference between like a balanceable card and like a design mistake.
Yeah.
Like Oko is balanceable because you can turn dials and knobs on that card.
Hello,
and make
Niles
it like
Dobbs here from the BBC reporting from DJ made a common mistake anyone could have made, and Jason's being a dick about it, even though he's drunk. Back to you in the studio.
You can change text or numbers on Oko and have it be like an actual normal Magic card, whereas there are some cards where like you cannot, like Storm, you can't change numbers, or Dredge, like there's no physical way to edit that card. And like Turgrid is a card where I think could have been very well designed. I think Turgrid is an Oko in terms of like, not in terms of banning or like absurd power level, but like at a commander table, it's an Oko, right? It's like this, you have to answer immediately or else the game kind of ends.
It's a Xyrus, I think, because you guys saw me play my Xyrus the one and only time I played it on a Monday game, and I was like, I don't feel good about this. I kind of feel like everybody built a Tiny Bones deck. They're like, Tiny Bones, it's so cool. And then they like made everyone discard, and everyone's like, we hate you.
Well, I like the concept. Well, that's why I like Turgrid as a concept, not as a not as a ratio of mana and power and toughness, all that. Because like I like the concept of discard cards ending the game quickly. I like the concept. I don't want everyone to discard their hand and then sit there for 5 turns while I attack with a 2/2. I like the
Tiny
concept.
Bones sort of addressed that. It's sort of like, look, I know your hands are empty, but don't worry. I'm just going to blast you for 10 damage at a time.
Yeah.
Tiny Bones is nice. For what it's worth, I won't play Skull Raid and Bolus because it's target opponent and not each opponent. Yeah. But Foretell itself is also a really cool mechanic that leads itself to future.
Hey, DJ.
The ability to use in the future. Give things the bonus abilities.
They did another
when
kicker in the
foretold.
set.
It's kicker.
It is
Foretell's kicker.
Yeah. Yep.
It's all kicker.
Close enough.
I know,
all right.
I've completely looked at Magic cards different ever since DJ said that he like put a brainworm in me in it. So they gave us the new Patriarch's bidding, and I was like, oh god, it's kicker.
You just galaxy brained that one, DJ, and just Jason is never going to be the same. Jason's just driving down the road, talking to his daughter, asking about her day at school, and all of a sudden he's just like, wait a minute. Recess is just kicker.
It's just school with kicker. Hey, sir, you can supersize your drink for another 59 cents. Ah, it's kicker. Supersizing is just kicker. You can supersize your drink at Taco Bell. Order the Taco Bell app to get a free Baja Blast freeze between 2 and 4. It's happy hour. Taco Bell.
All right,
Young Brands
well-
donated the maximum amount to the Trump re-election campaign. Don't eat at Taco Bell or KFC or Pizza Hut. And don't eat Chick-fil-A. You can't eat anywhere.
All right,
Just stay home and eat crackers in the dark and cry.
as a wrap up, my pick of the week is also based on Kaldheim. Distant Melody is a Morningtide common that was reprinted once in Premium Deck Series slivers. So it doesn't exist. It's basically like a PSA 10 Black Lotus signed by
pretty
Chris
much.
Buck. It's basically the same thing.
Basically.
But there's a legend in the set that has Changeling, and it's blue, and it's a Mistform Ultimatus with 2020 text. And there's a lot of other cards in the set that have the word Changeling on them. And Distant Melody says, choose a creature type, draw a million cards because you're probably playing slivers or elves. But like, there will be a bunch of people who build Changeling decks or want to include decks with a wide variety of creature types that have Changeling on them, and Distant Melody is still 50 cents, which is surprising to me. It's very surprising. I looked up this card tonight thinking it had already spiked. I think this is like a $3 or $4 common easy, especially because it's one of those weird ones that could probably just avoid reprints for a while.
Well,
in the last two years on EDH Rec, 200 people have registered a Mistform Ultimus deck. Not ever. That's in 2 years, which is 15 years after Mistform Ultimus was printed. So no, not 15, like 22. Mistform Ultimus is forever ago. So in the last 2 years, 200 people have been like, you know what? I want Mistform Ultimus. So like this new deck's bound to do some things, right?
Yeah. I'm going to come in with a recent pick that actually surprised me when I started looking at it. Drakuseth Maw of Flames. It's $2 from Core Set 2020. Now, Core Set 2020. So now I knew this was a reanimator target in the sense that there was a standard reanimator deck where this is reanimator target. There was a historic deck where you could reanimate this thing. But it's obvious, like, this is no Gristlebrand, So it was kind of like, this seems just like the thing people are doing because they can, not because they really want to. But now, actually, as time has gone on, we've seen the card climb from $1 to $2 because it turns out that its ability, it's a 7/7 for 7 when it attacks 4 damage to any target and 3 to 2 other targets, is just so good that it kind of just is it's a powerful enough dragon to make the cut as a dirtly 7 mana dragon. And that's why it's $2 and climbing. So it's probably like it's a can to get reprinted at any time, but it's probably going to be $5 if it doesn't get hit.
There's a dwarf that gives you treasure tokens to help you play your 7 mana dragon. So
yeah.
If Magic Fest existed, I would see this card in Fat Pack boxes that got tossed at me and claimed they had bulk.
There's nothing in here, but I'm trying to get to exactly.
No, I actually, this was, heck, that could have been a breaking bulk almost. Like, that card is pretty passed over. Jason, you want to...
I have a card with a mere 2 printings.
Okay.
On the basis of Turgid, a card I do not like, but may end up building. I can't decide if this is the least 75% or most 75% commander ever, but hey, Turgid will at least wrap the game up, especially if you cast Pox. Ice Age, 5th edition. Pox.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Each player loses 1/3 of their life. Ouch. Discards 1/3 of their hand. Oh, those are my cards now. Thank you very much. Sacrifices 1/3 of their creatures. Oh, those are my cards now. Thank you very much. Then sacks 1/3 of their lands. Oh, are lands permanents? Oh, they are? Well, I'll take those. Round up each time.
Got
Why
the
don't you
math.
round up the price of Pox, which is currently selling out places. And, you can still get Pox affordably on TCGPlayer. I recommend you do that.
This card makes you do so much math. I don't like it.
There's a little bit of math, but it's a cool one. All right. Well, we are almost done for this week. A couple things we want to do. First, we've got actually a special segment we're going to close things out on. But first, we want to shout out our friends over at originalmagicart.store. We mention it every week, and it is because it is one of the best Magic websites out there. Now, if you are someone who likes Magic art on cards and think it looks pretty neat, well, you might want some of it in your
because
home.
like you're not playing this because the cards are blank. I mean, some of you are sociopaths like that. That's fine. But like the majority of you got into this game and you're like, oh, that art's neat. If the cards were blank, you wouldn't be playing the game. So
that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. Well, if you want some of that art, originalmagicart.store has it on prints, on playmats, anything you want. And as a matter of fact, there's always new stuff coming to the store there. New mats that they are trying to get done. You can go pre-order here. Embercleave, Future Sight, Omniscience, Pass and Flames, Pramicon, Terrier, Reaper King. That is some pretty cool stuff that you can make happen. Those are getting pretty close to filling up there. And remember, anything that you spend on the Original Magic Art store goes to support the artists, and you can use the Brew Crew code to get a discount while you are there. So please go check that out.
Corbin, what's the Brew Crew code?
It is Brew Crew, just like it sounds. As a matter of fact, thank you for asking, Jason.
Well, the Brew Crew code is the code Brew Crew. Then we did it.
Yeah, so go check that out. Now, one more thing before we get out of here this week. Actually, a bit of a special segment. We had some people send us some product to review, and this isn't something we always do on the podcast, but in this case, we thought it made sense. So, DJ, do you want to go ahead and tell people what they're looking at if they're on the YouTube video, or explain for everyone else?
Yeah, sure. So, Greg Long from Ness Games sent us these. They are Shipping Shield on Twitter, at Shipping Shield, I believe is their social media handle. And as you can see, they're cardboard inserts that effectively are meant to replace top loaders as a more environmentally friendly option. So this is hashtag not sponsored. We are not getting compensated in any way for this, I guess, but we are here to provide our expertise and our shipping knowledge towards our feedback on these little cardboard inserts. As you can see, they open up and you fill them with a magic card. I've got a scrap trawler here, which is my breaking bulk. Putting it in, and I mean, obviously you want to sleeve in there first, but that is the goal of these, is to be...
So DJ, do you think this shipping shield is going to replace top loaders in your business needs?
So I really like these as a concept, and this company is not the first person to try something like this. TCGPlayer Direct actually tried this a couple years back. They moved to cardboard as a more environmentally friendly option, and it was also just actually more structurally sound for the cards. They had a less chance of bending and just experiencing damage in transit. And TCGPlayer went forward and they did a lot of market research, a lot of testing, and they said, okay, something along the lines of this is our best option going forward. And then they got a lot of complaints from customers. Mm-hmm. And they got those complaints when the cards were bent. But the interesting thing is that those were situations where the card would have been bent either way, even if there was a top loader involved. So just like extreme damage, obviously, like a top loader is not perfect. It will bend, it will snap, it can break. Cardboard being the same way. Just these are more environmentally friendly. And so TCGPlayer experienced a lot of negative feedback just because top loaders are the industry standard. I'm not saying they're better, but they're the expectations set by the customer based on tens and thousands, hundreds of thousands of transactions, millions of transactions. So the biggest struggle that I think Shipping Shield will run into is just the customer expectation. If I were going to use these in my operation, I would really appreciate some little kind of note or a little sticker or an imprint on the actual product itself that describes the efficacy of it and the reason behind it, and also just says, like, these have been tested to be as efficient as top loaders, or something that at least
please don't give us negative feedback just on the basis of you thought it was irresponsible to ship in cardboard.
Yeah,
because like it turns out it wasn't. So
yeah,
like I think these will work just fine. I'm sort of in DJ's camp, but also I kind of don't want to have people be like, "Ooh, why didn't you protect the card?"
Yeah.
When in reality, these are...
I'm with you. Yeah, I think if you make them, and obviously if it's a company trying to brand them and sell them, the branding's huge, and you people need a reason.
So
and
I don't
the environmentally friendly pitch is great. You just have to advertise it.
And I mean, like,
the
other thing is that Wizards tried this already too, right? Wizards did this with Modern Masters 2015, and that went over very poorly.
It did.
So you really need the correct, like, to thread the needle of marketing and proving the efficacy of the product, because obviously Modern Masters 2015, for those who remember, it did not prove the efficacy of the product. There were a lot of cards that came out LP
damaged,
and like whether or not that was the fault of the product or not is probably up for debate, because the Expeditions came out really bad too, and those were in plastic. But that's beside the point.
I would hate for somebody to
on
get
the other
negative
hand,
feedback.
Though,
yeah, was that Jason?
Yeah, exactly. That's never been in a top loader. I'd hate for someone to get negative feedback just on the basis of like, oh, you should have protected the card more. Like, I know TCGPlayer's Direct has sent me an Expedition foil just on like a flimsy piece of cardboard, and I was like, yeah, but like everything turned out fine. So like I didn't complain because like it wasn't bent, but if it had been, I might have been like, you should have protected it more.
Yeah.
Even if I was wrong in that case. Look, we're Americans. We live in a country where A&W saw McDonald's have a quarter-pound burger, and they're like, you know what? We're going to give people a third of a pound burger. For the same price as the McDonald's quarter pounder, we'll put them out of business. And everyone said, why would I pay the same amount for a 1/3 pound burger when I could get a 1/4 pound burger, which is bigger because 4 is bigger than 3. And then A&W went, but and then they lost the fight because like they got out stupided. So like whether or not people are right to be upset about the cardboard sleeve, maybe they will be. So like, I think these will work just fine. We like them as a product. We worry that without some sort of disclaimer on the packaging that like, hey, we tested these, they're just as good as a top loader, which are not infallible. So they're not indestructible. We don't want you to get dinged.
I say that about TCG. I wasn't around for when they were specifically used. I wasn't like in that part of the industry with TCG when they were using these, so I don't know specifically what TCGs looked like. I think another thing that could help to improve consumer confidence is that they might look better. Like even if you can make like cosmetic differences or cosmetic appearances that make it look more structurally sound, even if you already know that it is functional, I think that could go a long way, just because like even just looking at this right now, it looks more professional than something that other companies might have used, where they're just like, it's cardboard, it's pieces of cardboard, it works. And even if that's true, it might look less fancy. Like this looks more mass produced. It looks like it's an actual product that is designed for what it's being used for.
It doesn't look like you used a box cutter to hack 2 pieces off of a cardboard box to sandwich your card.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that goes a long way for it. But again, like the consumer expectation is something that's like always been an issue in many an industry, like Jason said. So the last comment I have on these is that one area where I believe they have an advantage over top loaders is that cardboard is a lot easier to mark up and just brand. So top loaders being plastic, it's a lot more difficult. You'd have to Sharpie them manually to have a little thank you note on them. I'd assume it's much harder to like etch or engrave onto the top loader itself. I can see an argument for top or cardboard being easier to like etch into or have a logo branded on or something like that. So have your little thank you message or something like that on the actual piece of cardboard itself.
Yeah.
And if that was something that they could send you with like your logo or a message or whatever already like on there in some way, that would be
like adding a business card's worth of information like saves an employee 5 seconds of having to put a business card in a top loader.
Yep, that's right. Okay, well, I think that probably covers it for this week. It was a busy week, y'all. We recorded a lot of after hours, a lot of streaming this week, a lot of Magic talk tonight, and next week is the Kaldheim set review as the set comes to Arena and then to local game stores near you. So it's a busy time for Magic right now. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to Brainstorm Brewery. I'm Corbin for Jason and DJ. We will see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Like and subscribe.